by definition, you cannot have animals without bacteria. You cannot have plants without bacteria. It's just not possible. So just because we have lots of people with letters after their names in roles that are considered to be authoritative who say this does not make it true. One of the basic things that I say is if nature says one thing and a person says something different, the person's wrong. First things first. We have this thing called evangelicals where I come from in America. Evangelical Christians. You know them because they have a bumper sticker that says WWJD in the back. What would Jesus do? Or maybe like a little fish. And they're like got their noses up in the air because they're God-fearing, God-loving people. I would say, what does nature do? The real question, if you've got any question about anything in your land, any way you're engaging land, is not what does this person say, what is this guru who's charging me $10,000 for this certification course, who wrote this book, who's got this credential. The question is not what do they say, the question is how does nature do things? What is the pattern of nature? Foundationally, all plants across the planet cover themselves in green to make stuff that they then eject out of their bodies into the environment. Who's heard of Darwin? Who heard of Darwin? What's that one-liner that's associated with Darwin? Survival of the fittest. Which basically means what? I win if you lose. I win by beating you. Right? Kind of, that's the general gist of it. Is that the pattern nature's showing us? Nature's showing us a pattern of symbiosis. Nature's pattern is, I survive by feeding everyone around me. And then everyone around me, when fed, feeds me. It's a beautiful symbiotic dynamic. It's not, I control, I take, I have more, I succeed. It's I share, I empower, I love, we succeed. That's the pattern of nature. Right? We have so many of these fraudulent constructs. It's what they call being colonized. Right? I would say it has nothing to do with the color of skin you have. It has nothing to do with where your ancestors lived. It has to do with your state of mind. Right? There are people who operate from the state of mind that have all kinds of different colors of skin, all kinds of different types of genitalia. Right? It has nothing to do with those physical dynamics. It has to do with the, the subtle dynamic, the state of being that you operate from. The foundational dynamic here is it doesn't, as far as I'm concerned, matter what kind of plant this is. This can be a tree, it can be a grass, it can be a tuber, it can be an herb, it can be a flower. What matters is the function of this area. This is called the rhizosphere. It's the area surrounding the root where the vast majority of the life in the soil resides. I've said that 90% of the cells in our body are not human. It's exactly the same for the plant. Right? We can't digest our food. It's only the people inside of us that digest our food. Right? It's the microbes that we require for us to be able to eat. It's exactly the same for plants. Plants can't eat without their gut flora. Some people are told that the plants are the bottom of the food chain, herbivores are the middle of the food chain, the carnivores are the top of the food chain. You missed actually the foundation, which was the microbes. The microbes are the bottom of the food chain. To the degree which the microbes are flourishing, right? Think of a pyramid. To the degree that the microbes are flourishing, then the plants can flourish. To the degree the plants are flourishing, then the higher organisms, quote unquote, the animals can flourish. But foundationally, as far as I'm concerned, we all miss the boat when we think we're growing plants. The point is, we are stewards of the environment to facilitate the optimal, realization of the potential of the microbes. That's the objective. That's what we need to be focusing our attention. So if you think you're doing anything for your plants because you're growing plants, you're missing the point. You think plants eat fertilizer? Let's just say that you were in a car accident, bad accident. Let's just say that the life flight came and got you before it was too late. You got taken to the hospital. You're on a, what do you say? You're in a coma. 2 weeks. What do? Among other things, they put a little tube into your bloodstream and they inject soluble nutrients into your bloodstream. You can be kept alive with soluble nutrients being injected directly into your bloodstream. 100%. What's the technical definition of fertilizer? Soluble nutrients. The legal, government-controlled definition of fertilizer is a soluble nutrient. If you got rock phosphate, a naturally occurring material, which has 30% phosphorus in it, and 3 of those 30 are soluble, guess what the bag has to say? 030. Even if it's 30% phosphorus, it's illegal to put on that bag 030. The only way you can put 30 on a bag of phosphorus is if those 30 are soluble, right? That is assuming that plants eat soluble nutrients. It's like assuming that you are evolved to eat Gatorade. Not true. Not true. We are evolved to eat food, and then our microbes digest it, and actually the microbes eat first. So if your microbes aren't doing well, then you're not doing well. Who's heard of this ridiculous thing called juicing? You take carrots and apples and celery and you juice them? You think you're an animal. You're chucking the food for the microbes. All the fiber, that's what the microbes need to live, you're removing. Talk about stupid, ridiculous, preposterous, completely ignorant. Fertilizer is a soluble nutrient. Yes, you can inject soluble nutrients directly into the bloodstream of a plant. That is not the way to optimize the health of a plant. You can be kept alive on an IV drip, but what happens to your gut flora if you don't eat any food for 2 weeks? Right? This is where the complications start. Because you're not an animal, you're an ecosystem. What are complications called with plants? They're called fungal infestations, they're called bacterial infestations, they're called pest pressure, disease pressure. These are complications of a perverse management of a natural system. Why do we do these things? Because there's people that have money, that are sophisticated, and have figured out how to control the education system to teach us wrong thoughts. There's a whole structure established functionally by people who made money selling things to write papers, to teach PhDs, to teach our children false stories, to sell us stuff. Why? To maximize profit. Not to empower us, but to maximize profit.